look at those dragons. They just look so
They're so
cool. For those of you listening on
they're
audio, I'm
not
sorry.
cool. They're not cool. They're not
They're
cool brats.
cute. They're
They're
cute.
brats.
Okay,
They're
they're brats. Yeah. Actually, they do look kind of look bratty. Yeah, they do. But still,
they're
here we go.
punk.
Scions of Icaria. There we go. Hexel, yeah, 2 parts will be fun. Yeah. We'll do that because it's just maybe sometime in the future I can go on all night, but it's not tonight, guys. I'm sorry, it's not tonight.
That's fair.
Which is fine.
That's fair.
So Scions of Icaria.
That's
And okay, we get a bit. Did you write this, Jeremy?
I did write this.
Here we go.
So, okay. So here's the crazy thing. I have to say, huge shout out. I really appreciate Renegade Game Studios for doing this particular thing with and the Lore Council for pointing this out. Again, this is a backstory reference because if you know me, you know my backstory. Back when I was in high school, I was really. I mean, I've been big with Heroscape lore forever, right? But it was that weird pool. Oh, I'm a teenager. I'm lonely. I'm going to the library. I'm going to sit in the library and I'm going to write stories. And I did.
Dude.
I used to write stories for Heroscape, and I was obsessed as a kid with Icaria, right?
There you go.
The storytelling behind Icaria, mainly because there was nothing. Okay, this was the point. This is why I was so obsessed with it as a kid, because if you remember, back in the day, there was only 5 dragons that came out.
Right.
And so the 5 dragons barely explain anything except the last one, right? Zelric's bio, the whole dynamic there. You got this the great dragon emperor demands tribute, but then nobody's able to give tribute except this poor kid, and the poor kid's tribute is his pet lizard, and he thinks he's going to die because this dragons are going to kill him. It's just it was the most information we've ever gotten on that planet, bar none, ever. And I remember that little bit of fiction just being this spark of creativity. And if I don't know if it was that one or all of it or wherever, but I can say Icaria, specifically the planet of Icaria, is in fact what caused me to become a creative person, right? Renegade caught wind of that, so now they give me all the Icaria stuff. They're like, here, you like this planet, so write about this planet. And I got introduced to the concept of the fact that the dragons from classic Heroscape have lineages, right? So because they're all royals, right? They're all kings, queens. They all have these really, really important pedigrees. That's the word I'm looking for, right? And so, but the problem is, right, when you're a powerful lord of regal bearing, so strong in your government position, you don't have time for squabbling children.
You don't have time for
right?
kids, yeah.
So I mean, and this is dragon culture, by the way. We're talking about dragon culture, right? So you grab these babies, you throw them all together, and you force this one particular dragon to take care of these babies. You're like, okay, hey, I'm not doing this. You do this. Make sure they're good. Make sure they're good, right? We don't want to deal with kids because they're the next generation, right? And here's the crazy part, right? These dragons are important, very important, right? Because they're royalty. They're the leaders of these dominions. They're just handing their children off. They're like, oh, I don't want to deal with them. You need to raise them. These kids have no idea where they're coming from, but they do remember that they're important because they got all these fancy titles. They got all these
self-importance.
Yeah. Oh man. And because of that, this is why they're, as their personality describes, they're pompous. They're brats. This is why I've been describing it like that, because they're full of that importance because their whole life they were told, you will be the next king. You will be the next emperor. It's like, oh, sweet. It's like they've never had to do anything, for themselves. So now they're sitting here in a situation. And you got to read the Bible, because now there's a really particular situation, a particular dragon that they ended up becoming their ward.
I will say one thing though, because I was realizing this when you were talking through all this. Everybody understand, and Jeremy, I'm very proud of you for this.
Oh, dude,
because this is your
don't make me cry.
imagination on a page. This
Dude,
is,
don't make me
you know,
cry.
it's I'm just be proud to have, you know, a little bit of part of that. So yeah, very proud
Oh,
of
dude,
you.
dude, man. Oh, I can't even talk. Thanks, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Okay, let's read this.
Ooh.
All right. An orc paused during his patrol over the plains of Menlinia?
Yep.
Okay, plains of Menlinia. My goodness, words in Heroscape.
Aren't they
Eager,
the best? That's my favorite part.
eager to break his fast. But he immediately regretted revealing his food as 3 Icarian dragonets descended upon him, surrounding him in an instant. Now I can just visually see that.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you not bow? The speaker, a dragonet with metallic red-orange scales, fixed the unfortunate orc with her most piercing gaze. Commanded not to provoke them, the orc obeyed. Though he could feel the weight of their stares pressing down on him, stifling even in their youth. The copper scale snatched his meal as if it was an offering, while the others laughed. Oh my goodness. Life is for the strong, the dragonet declared. Silence followed, broken only when one of them kicked the orc's side. Oh, good grief. Dragons are the strongest, he grunted. Nalfheim is the strongest of all, snapped another dragonet, her scales bright as snow. She reached for the ration. I am his spawn, and I will rule the north. You won't survive long enough to rule, the copper scale sneered, shoving the snow scale aside and swallowing the ration whole. Share, hissed the third, his skin slick with slime. Conflagrant ones do not share. The Borean throne never forgives, and the affairs of the northern continent bore me. The sky darkened momentarily as a massive shadow swept over them. Mimring descended, vast wings blotting out the sun. At once the dragonets scrambled across the ground to greet their liege, still arguing. Then what do you want? Lord Ukar's promise. More than the 12 thrones of Annex Draco. Wait, how do you say that? Draco Keomine?
Yeah. So I made this word up.
Good
I
God.
Actually got the. Yeah, this is my contribution
the
to the
12
crazy
thrones
Heroscape vocabulary.
Of Annex Draco Yikimi.
I'll say.
Yeah, go ahead. Dracoicamine. Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Dracoicamine. That's how I pronounce it. But I made this word up. So again, have fun with it.
In Webster's dictionary, in a Webster's dictionary store near you sometime soon.
Look, it is part of every lore person's role in life to create complicated vocabulary for fictional languages, right? Literally, Tolkien made how many languages?
Oh,
like 26 something, 30 something languages. I get to make up some words.
Dude, go ahead. By all means, no.
That fit in this setting. You know, we gotta have some fun with our languages. But yeah, if you start seeing some random stuff, feel free to ask me. I don't mind pronouncing it because I did make those words up. They are based on root.
25% of why you're here.
So I was like, I had to do it because I mean it's part of my upbringing.
Dracoicamine. There. Okay.
Dracoicamine.
Dracoicamine. I'll have to repeat this a few times. The copper scale nodded, speaking loud enough for the orc to hear. I want Grut. The dragon with the smooth, slimy skin cackled. And which world do you think suits me? Silence and focus, Mimring hissed as he landed, his claws and wings gleaming in the morning light. Dozens of dragonets poured from the camp to gather around him. Remember your place, whelps. A caravan moves on the horizon. The time for us to strike is now. Take to the skies at my side and do as I do. The trio's argument ceased as they exchanged glances, licking their teeth. There was a far tastier breakfast waiting for them today. Look at those sculpts, guys. Wow. I
Yeah.
like the Braxis type sculpt.
The
That
references are peak. Like it's just because you're looking at dragon designs that
and
are
it's
themed after
Uthgar, guys.
classic
This
dragons
this is a
from
this is Uthgar. Uthgar got the dragon babies, guys.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Explore a little bit of lore here for just a
Okay.
couple of minutes, because we do need to wrap
I
this
know
up.
we're gonna.
Yeah.
It's so much. Okay, so I will explain Plains of Menlinia. That was a specific reference I wanted to include, which this takes a lot of deep cuts. I do a lot of deep cuts for fun because this is part of what I do for every video game, right? But if you remember the Avalon Hill beta rulebook, in the beta rulebook for Avalon Hill's HasLab, right, when they were launching that Vanguard edition, the word Plains of Menlinia was written in there,
Okay.
right, as part of the rulebook. Didn't come from it. Didn't that was literally, that's it. That was it. It just mentioned that phrase, and then it never came up. So at some point, that was going to be a scenario map, and I just didn't know what it was referencing. So I was like, "Hey, what if we put it
Just
in this
throw it
bio
in
because it's
Utengard.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's an Age of Annihilation setting. So we need to reference. We can try to reference all those Age of Annihilation stuff. We want to keep referencing what that came from that. So there's that from the beta rulebook. It's
There you
like
go.
now it's a place in Valhalla. Right? So that was exciting getting to put that in there. Of course, we have this dynamic where we got these rival dynasties fighting each other. The problem is, how do rival dynasties express this conflict if they're babies, right? I mean, they're literally, they don't get it. They don't understand
More like
their
children or
role. They
teenagers,
don't understand their titles. Yeah, it's in my head when I got this contract. When I was thinking about how to do like the Scions, I'm like, okay, their legacy are these kings and queens of this planet where they're revered as gods or revered as these super powerful beings, right? They haven't had a single need in their life at all. They've never had any. And now, right, they're being summoned to Valhalla because as you understand the role with how the Battle of All Time works, it's like you have to. There are a lot of things that we don't explain because we want you, the player, to kind of think of stuff yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's always been there's some open ended. It's like, why did these baby dragons get summoned to Valhalla? Well, you think about that, right? That's something for you. You get to fill that blank now. That's a cool story you get to, right? And there's like all kinds of stuff that comes into that play, right? But you look right in that center, right? The dragon is referencing a promise, right? Uthgar promised
Mm-hmm.
something to these baby dragons, right? So he's mentioning he's more than the thrones. Right? It's like, yeah, I want this planet.
Yeah.
The
And again, what
point
about these
is
thrones
that
too? That's an interesting
well,
reference that might mean
so
something in the
yeah,
future.
that's a reference to Icaria. That's a
Right.
reference to Icaria government, right? And it's essentially a name to the Icarian government. Where the way I reference things, if you go into your classical Greek, you go into your literature books and stuff like that. There's a concept of it. It's hard to explain. In the ancient Greek, the word oikoumene, right, refers to the known world. Okay, this is how I explain it. It's like what you know is safe. What you know as a protected space. This is society. This is city. This is life. Right. That's oikoumene. And there's a bunch of stuff that exists outside of that, which is it's not safe. It's not protected. Right. So I took that concept from ancient Greece, right, the oikoumene, combined it with the word dragon, so Draco, right? So the Dracoikomene is
There you
for
go.
them their protected space. To them, this is what they say is accepted, right?
Okay.
Because you have to remember that to the dragons, when you fulfill the terms of the dragon's government, right, which is the tributes that they demand, you're safe. You're protected from other dragons that would eat you, right? Because in previous bios, if you read Zelrig's bio, that's a big thing. They're like, we have to pay the tribute. We have to.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we will get eaten. There's that constant threat because the dragons decide whether or not you live or die
They're practically
based on
gods.
their whims.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are essentially gods. They protect. They they depict your fate because they're like, yo, you know what I feel like? I feel like eating. I feel like eating and destroying this. Not until, well, I may eat you, or you can pay me this fine, and then I won't eat you.
Yeah, because
No one, no one wants to live like that, but that's how
any
they determine
classic
things.
dragon, especially fantasy dragon,
Will
the
or
the
not good
more yeah
things,
the
not
more
good leaderships.
the more the thing that they love more than eating somebody is treasure and gold.
Hmm.
They covet
Yep.
that usually. So
So that's
yeah.
how you placate the Icarian dragons. Are they have this weird like system where it's like, oh, you pay tribute, they'll protect you. You're in their Dracoicoming, they're in their protected spot. But you don't pay the tribute, dragon can eat you.
Yeah, out of the
You're free game,
Dracoicomine.
essentially. So, and it's like, do we like this? Do we like this government? No, not really. But who wants to oppose a dragon-run government? Good luck. That is
There's some
that's a rough.
nice sculpts. They're just like, and then again,
They did a good yeah.
you can get just like one regular painted and then just all the rest unpainted
Paint
and
them your own
do
scheme. Paint
different,
them.
yeah, different colors. You know,
So
all kinds of dragons.
shout out to Lee. I have to give a shout out to Lee
Hmm.
specifically because when she showed off the sculpts to me for
Hmm.
these dragons, she wanted to make sure they were lore compliant. She was
Hmm.
actually, hey, are these these specific to Heroscape dragons? I'm like, heck yeah, they are.
Hmm.
So I mean, they did their work, right? But specific, the big thing I want to give a shout out to is the fact you see the mimring child,
Yes,
what the dragon's
gold.
holding a
Hmm.
small lizard. She asked me about that, specifically the lizard in the dragon's hand,
Oh, people
right?
noticed that right away when that sculpt was
Yeah,
shown.
the
Yep.
Pello lizard. Yeah,
Yep.
the Pello lizard from the Zelrig bio. That's what it's referencing. It's referencing the Zelrig bio specifically, and that was something Lee made that decision before I even joined.
Sure.
So huge shout out because they have been making really good decisions in terms of design that they've had months in advance, and then they're like they showed it to me and they're like, hey, is this right? And I'm like, bro, you guys had this. I was like, this is peak. I was excited when they showed me this. I was like, this is if this is the future of Heroscape, I'm all for it.
Dude.
Like when they showed me this is when I got committed because
Right.
I was like, oh, well, we're in now. So
Okay.
I was definitely on the project hard when I saw these guys because I was like, I know they're doing their research.
Right.
They looked everything up. I mean, look at the wing patterns on the Mimring baby. It looks just like Mimring's.
A dragon common squad. This is a first.
Yep.
Dragon common
awesome.
squad. Scions of Icaria. Utgar. It's like, I wouldn't have guessed that, first of all, that these guys were going to be a common squad, A, and
Mhm.
B, that the common squad was going to be under Utgar's banner. That those are two that were definitely nowhere near in my imagination or bingo book. And so, yeah, that's something. And then, so a dragon common squad, Scion, Pompous, and I'm sure everybody's looking up to see if there's like different synergies with these, if it can be used for synergies with these, whatever. Let's say, okay, 1 life, move of 5, range of 1, attack of 2, defense of 2, 75 points. Okay. Of course, the flying ability, obviously. Cleave to the mighty is special ability. It says at the start of the game, choose an archmage, dragon, king, or queen unique hero. There's a lot of options here, dude. There's a lot of options you control to be the liege for all Scions of Icaria you control. Before taking a turn with the Scions of Icaria, you may take a turn with their chosen liege. Bonding synergy, boom, right there. Another so this is almost like Renegade's answer to Greenscale Warriors, in a sense.
Yeah.
It's actually almost, these might actually be a little bit better. Actually, I mean, Greenscale Warriors don't have much in the way of attack and defense, but they have the Dragonic Breath special. I don't think Greenscales have a special attack, do they? I'm trying to remember. I don't think they do. It's just the bonding.
They get a bonus to be next to the Lizard King, but that is, they don't get a special attack.
Draconic Breath special attack. Range 4 attack 2. Only figures within 3 clear sight spaces of Scions of Icaria's liege can be targeted. Okay, but with a Draconic Breath special attack. So does that mean so attack of 2 for each one? Each one gets a range of 4 and attack of 2. Then basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
they're melee units, but they would get a ranged special attack when they're within the 3 clear side spaces of the liege.
Okay, so you got to stay within 3 clear side spaces of your liege. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's let's see here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's a 7 range basically total that you're working with. Not bad. And then say if you get a glyph or like a range effective glyph for additional range, that's 8 range potentially. Dude, that you have yourself now a new dragon, like a king dragon army build right here with these common squad figures. That's great.
And not just dragons, but
Archmage, Kings, Queens,
Sonlin.
So classic VC Renegade. There are options for builds for these dragons.
You want to hear something exciting?
Yeah, dude.
Here's something exciting.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it's Queen, so they bond with Maladric. So I knew. There it is. You can have a Maladrix. You can do like a split core Scion army there.
Dude. And we haven't looked at everything yet, but this might be my one that I'm just like, oh, bring on the dragons.
Yeah. It's so cool. It's a reference to classics. It's got the styles based on the dragon. It's got
so much nostalgia in this too. This is a direct pointing back into the past.
They worked hard on this design.
And so this is a Renegade one, obviously.
Renegade themed one.
Very, 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 very happy with this. Is a 2 thumbs up because it's just like it. Again, it's not like this is something that flips the meta, but it becomes the meta. This is just something that wow. Talk about so this is definitely Renegade's answer to green scales, and they're taking it up a notch a bit. I think. I mean, obviously you need to play test these things. We need to see how things synergize, but this from my first impression, this is really good, really, really good. Wow, yeah, I'm very impressed with these and the lore, their personality. Wow.
Yeah, I was really excited when they.
Dude, I can't believe I held all this in for 6 days.
Bro, I held this in for months.
Yeah, for sure.
I held this in from last year. I'm like, no, well, because this is a big thing. This is a big reason why I was like, hey, I'm going to keep pushing this brand forward. Why? Because guess what's coming out? You don't know what's coming out. This cool stuff. And this is a big sign of a lot of that design intent forward, where they want to commit and show you all that they do in fact love Heroscape, and this is one of the big ones.
I think
dragons based on the classic dragon.
I think I'm not sure, but I think my son might have fun with these dragons. Although he's into fish, so he might actually go for the more the fish builds. But he likes the dragons too. And if there's a way for me and him to get these, and then he gets builds that eventually he can compete with, this is a very easy way for someone who's just getting into Heroscape to do classic and NVC and Renegade, in any type of tournament scenario, and you're not wanting to spend too much, you can just focus on these and whatever favorite dragon or whatever, because there's lots of options for this, and you don't have to buy expensive green scales anymore, or invest in that and get these and just have fun learning the game, on the cheap for this. Just get yourself some classic dragon units and just start getting good at it. This is a great starter. This is a great starter for this. At least that's what I see. At least that's what I anticipate for these. Because, I mean, I have to look at green scales and just compare and probably match them up against each other in the future. But from what I see, and Justin's saying, how many Scions would be ideal for an army? Downside of taking a lot would be they lose power when their leech dies. Again, this is definitely a king build setup army. This is a king, and the funny thing is, I'm listening to Rye Guy's king build finally that he had discussion with Dog Days. So I'm understanding more the king build scenario on things, and so shout out to you, Rye Guy plays games. But yes, this is definitely a king build army, which isn't a bad thing, because you have your ranged. Well, yeah, you have your ranged. Yeah. You have your attack. You have your a melee attack. This might be a king build that's really tough to defeat, depending on what dragon you got. And even if, say, that king build is done, I think still these dragons. Well, and see here, but if the king build dies, then you cannot use the special attack anymore with these, right? Correct? Because you got to be within 3 clear sight spaces of your Scion. So once your Scion's dead, then the special attack no longer works. So you just got to focus then on melee after that. So that is a concern. But all the same, still, you need to have that balance. It's not everything's going to be perfect. So that's what you got to focus on that particular king build. But anyway, yeah, Justin's saying a downside to taking a lot would be they lose the power when their leech dies. Don't forget Kyrian 2 for contemporary. For sure, because Kyrian is a queen. That's right. Yeah, so many options for these. I still think that they might end up becoming something that's very competitive on all sides. It's definitely a good start for this. So, I'm just gonna close it now because we already gone like 20 plus minutes on this. But this is looking at Scions of Icaria first look. I'm wowed. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm wowed by these guys. Just amazing. All right. So before we start, I think our next one was the Great Bow Archers, because we covered the last one we covered last week was the Scions, and you know, okay, this is one housekeeping thing. I know last Wednesday or last time I kept on saying Scions instead of Scions. The C is silent. And I was looking at because I was reviewing it, and just like I kept on making that mistake. In my head, I was saying Scions, but my mouth was saying something different.
I feel bad because I was trying to like I would try to like hit and I couldn't. I didn't know how to like.
When I don't pay attention, I don't pay attention.
You're good, man.
Just roll with it. You know.